My name is Evelyn Rose Harper, but for the last 45 years, everybody has just called me Mama Rose. I'm 78 years old, 5 foot nothing in my stockings, and I still have never taken nonsense from a single soul, except, it turns out, my own children. It started the day my daughter Cynthia and my son Kenneth showed up with matching worried faces and a glossy brochure for Shady Pines Care Center. The cover showed a smiling, white-haired lady playing cards with a nurse who looked 12. Inside were words like memory care, safety, and 24-hour supervision. Kenneth kept patting my hand like I was already half gone. "Mama, the house is too big," Cynthia said. "You fell last month." "I tripped over your daddy's old toolbox you never came to pick up," I corrected. Kenneth cleared his throat. "The doctor said early dementia. The doctor said I have low iron and a stubborn streak. He never mentioned dementia." But they had already decided. The moving van was booked, my furniture was tagged for auction. They even brought pre-printed address labels with Shady Pines' address on them. I looked at those 2 children I had carried 9 months each, worked double shifts to feed, stayed up all night sewing prom dresses and hemming football pants, and I felt something inside me go very still. "Fine," I said sweetly, "if that's what you think is best." They relaxed, relieved I wasn't going to make a scene. That should have been their first clue. Shady Pines smelled like boiled cabbage and industrial disinfectant. My room was the size of a walk-in closet. The bed squeaked, the television only got 3 channels, and the food was the color of wet cardboard. The first night aide called me Sweetie in that tone people use with toddlers and dogs. I smiled, nodded, and started counting ceiling tiles. What Cynthia and Kenneth didn't know, what nobody knew, was that every birthday and Christmas for the last 22 years, instead of buying myself perfume or a new coat, I bought 1 single share of stock in Evergreen Senior Living Corporation, the parent company that owns Shady Pines and 42 other facilities just like it. I did it quietly through the little brokerage account my late husband Raymond had opened in 1973. Raymond always said, "Rose, a woman needs money that's only in her name." 1 share doesn't sound like much, but 22 years of birthdays, Christmases, and just because gifts add up. By the time they wheeled me into Shady Pines, I owned 9,847 shares. That put me at just over 52% of the company. I kept the certificates in a fireproof box under my bed. My children never looked under my bed. They were always too busy looking in my purse. The first week, I observed. I watched the administrator, Mr. Gerald Whitmore, a man with a spray tan and the empathy of a parking meter, cut corners everywhere. Meals skipped fresh fruit to save $1.12 per resident per day. Laundry detergent was watered down until the sheets smelled like mildew. The heat was kept at 64 degrees because old people like it warm, but the board likes dividends. I made friends fast. Old ladies are invisible until they decide not to be. Miss Lorraine in room 112 used to be a corporate lawyer. Mr. Alvarez in 208 had run a private equity firm. Miss Pearl, 94 and sharp as a tack, had been secretary to 3 different CEOs and could read a balance sheet faster than most accountants. We met every afternoon in the sunroom and plotted like the Golden Girls with MBAs. I called my broker from the hallway payphone, yes, they still had one, and asked him to quietly acquire every share he could lay his hands on. I had $187,000 in savings bonds Raymond and I had bought for the kids' college, but never used for braces and broken arms instead. I cashed them all. 2 weeks later, my ownership crept to 68%. 3 weeks after that, 79%. Meanwhile, I learned the staff schedules, the supplier contracts, the maintenance logs. I learned that the fire alarm on the east wing hadn't worked in 14 months, and that Mr. Whitmore had pocketed the repair budget for a new boat he kept named Early Retirement. On the 93rd day of my captivity, a courier in a Navy suit arrived with a thick envelope addressed to Mrs. Evelyn R. Harper, majority shareholder. I signed for it with the same pen I used to sign report cards. That afternoon, I asked the front desk to call Mr. Whitmore to my room. He strolled in, chewing a toothpick, smirking. "Need an extra blanket, Miss Harper?" "No, thank you, Gerald," I said, enjoying the way his face twitched when I used his first name. "I need the boardroom, 3 o'clock, full meeting." He laughed until I slid the ownership transfer documents across the bedspread. The boardroom smelled like panic and cheap coffee. 7 directors sat around the table looking like they'd swallowed lemons. I wore my Sunday lavender suit and the pearls Raymond gave me on our 30th anniversary. Effective immediately, Gerald Whitmore is terminated for cause. Security will escort him out now. 2 very large gentlemen in suits appeared as if by magic. Gerald's spray tan went gray. Next order of business, new compensation package for all CNAs, 28% raise retroactive to last quarter. Fresh fruit returns to the menu tomorrow. Heat goes up to 72, and every resident gets a real mattress within 30 days. You could have heard a pin drop on the industrial carpet. Miss Lorraine was appointed interim administrator. Mr. Alvarez took over finance. Miss Pearl became corporate secretary. We renamed the company Rose Garden Living. I moved out of room 112 and into the owner's cottage on the back acreage, little white house with roses climbing the porch, the one they used to rent out for weddings. I had the kitchen redone first. The residents threw me a party the day the new mattresses arrived. We had real fried chicken, collard greens, and a 3-tiered coconut cake. Somebody hooked up a karaoke machine, and we sang Aretha until midnight. Cynthia and Kenneth showed up 3 weeks later. They looked thinner, worried. The story had hit the local news. 78-year-old resident buys nursing home chain, fires CEO. They found me on the cottage porch shelling butter beans with Miss Pearl. "Mama, we heard. We didn't know. We thought you needed to be put away so you could sell your house and split the money without me fussing." I kept shelling. "You thought you needed to be put away so you could sell my house and split the money without me fussing." Kenneth shuffled. "We were going to take care of you." "You were going to take care of my money," I corrected. "There's a difference." Cynthia tried tears. "Can't we start over?" I stood up, wiped my hands on my apron, and smiled the same sweet smile I used the day they moved me in. "Of course we can, baby. Visiting hours are 2 to 4 on Sundays. Residents' family members pay full price now. No discounts. Cash or credit card at the front desk." They stared at me like I'd grown wings. "Oh, and one more thing," I added, reaching into my pocket. I pulled out 2 crisp envelopes and handed one to each of them. "Your inheritance, early. I'm not waiting until I'm dead to be generous." Inside each envelope was a check for exactly $1,000 and a gift card to to Rose Garden's new day spa package. Kenneth tried to speak. I held up a hand. "Take it, spend it, and the next time you want to see your mama, you call first and you bring a covered dish. We do potluck every Sunday after church." They left without the checks. I still have them framed in the cottage hallway. These days, I wear linen pants and bright colors. I have a golf cart painted buttercup yellow that I drive around the grounds checking on my people. The roses are blooming like crazy. The food is so good we have a waiting list. The staff smiled because they can pay rent and still buy their kids shoes. And every evening at sunset, I sit on my porch with a glass of sweet tea and watch the fireflies come out over what used to be the Shady Pines parking lot, but now is a garden with winding paths and benches and a fountain that plays music. Sometimes I think about the woman who let herself be carried out of her own house in a wheelchair she didn't need. That woman feels like a stranger now. I kept the old Shady Pine sign. It's mounted in the dining room as a reminder. Underneath, I had a new bronze plaque installed that reads, "Never underestimate a woman who has been counting ceiling tiles and shares. Love, Mama Rose, owner of Rose Garden Living, still sharp as a tack and twice as dangerous when crossed." And that, darling, is how you turn a pretty